So, for fun activity today, we're talking about pros and cons of living in Oslo. All of them will be my personal honest notes after I live in Oslo for 8 years. This video is going to be quite long, I guess, because I have a lot to say. So stay with me, tickle that like button, let's dive in. By the way, these pros and cons, it's more about living in Oslo center, because when you're moving outside of city center, there is just a suburbs. It's the same scenery like if you would go to another small towns or villages. Starting with a little bit obvious pros, maybe it's obvious for me, but the first nice thing, what you can see when you are visiting Oslo or moving there, is a very green, very chill city for being a capital. There is a lot of small parks everywhere. There is a lot of benches. There's a lot of resting places no matter where you go. That is what I like a lot about being in Oslo center in general, is this nice chill vibe, feeling a little bit suburban even. It's a cozy city center that you can walk up and down in maybe 1.5 hours. I like a lot that the center of Oslo is very united. You can go from Nydalen, which is like a top part of Oslo. I think it's 5-6 kilometers down to the seaside. So if you look at the map of Oslo, no matter where you go, what direction of the city center, you can walk it in 1.5-2 hours, I would say, which is nice. You can get around by foot pretty easily, so you don't really need to take a transport. You can take electric scooters that are available, or you can bicycle. In general, it's very nice as a tourist, if you visit the city, to just be able to walk almost everything in one day. In the 8 years I was living there, I was finding interesting corners literally every week when I go for a walk into town. This city didn't stop amaze me with beautiful corners. There's always something new popping out. There's an interesting sculptures, interesting architectures. And if you come to Oslo, for example, with cruise ship, the cruise ships are docking straight in the city center. So it's like you just come with the boat, you get out 5 minutes and you're on a central street, which is also super nice if you have just a day to go around and then you need to come back to this cruise ship. The next pro for me, that's more personal, I think, is that Oslo is a port city. I come and I was born in the city that is also a port city, St. Petersburg. And at least for me, it was quite important, and I love it very much when the city has a lot of water surrounding it. So Oslo has a sea. Oslo has a very long river, Akerselva, that goes through the whole city. Beautiful, and it's surrounded by a small lake. So if you go a little bit outside of Oslo center with the subway, you can reach a lot of nature where you can also swim and do some fun activities in winter, like skating, ice skating. Next pro, personally for me, was that in Oslo there are a lot of modern museums. I would say that is a little bit different from other European capitals and cities in general. And for the people who love like classic art, I think there will be not so much to see really, because museums in Oslo doesn't have nothing more famous than paintings of Edvard Munch, which is like national treasure in Norway. And yeah, most of the museums in Oslo are very modern, very digitalized, very alternative. There are like a lot of contact areas. I don't know how it's in English. You can listen to things, you can see, you can touch. You like immersing into this thing they're presenting to you. And nonetheless, there is a lot of cultural events, theater, concerts, I don't know, exhibitions for every taste and every budget you can find in Oslo. The next pro will be accessible and clean transportation, public transport that is always on time. It's easy to get around Oslo compared to other cities in Norway. Of course, when you live long enough in Oslo, you start to complain a little bit that sometimes trains are delayed, sometimes trains are cancelled, buses are cancelled due to the weather conditions or something. But in general, I've traveled a lot in other European countries and other cities, and I can say that there is no better transportation system than in Oslo. And the bus drivers are winking at each other when they see each other, when the buses are driving. I never seen it in other countries. This is just, it feels like a small village, just wholesome. There is also good night transportation in Oslo, so the subway itself closing pretty early, I would say. I think the last subway trains goes maybe 12:15, 12:30, but instead you can reach all of the areas in Oslo by night buses that goes quite frequently, especially in Oslo center. Also, there is a lot of green buses that takes you out of the Oslo. In Oslo, like Oslo buses are red, and if you see the green bus in Oslo, it means that it goes outside of Oslo basically. So these buses also, they're not going so often, but they're like going once an hour, once in 2 hours. Anyway, there's a possibility to get where you need to go, especially like small villages outside of Oslo. When I was living in different municipalities before I moved to Oslo, I was working as a bartender in Oslo center. And for 3-4 a.m., I was taking this green bus. It was driving me 1.5 hours with all the stops around all the small places. But you get home, and it's important, you can sleep in the bus. It's clean, it's warm. I never encountered some dangerous situations, or I haven't seen some dangerous situations or theft or whatever it is. Maybe I'm so lucky, but for me it seemed very safe. So yeah, that's a big plus. Safe, clean, on time, accessible, transport, amazing. And the next pro will be that Oslo is very clean and very looked after city. You will not see garbage outside. Talking about city center again, maybe if you go for a jogging 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. on Saturday or Sunday, you might see a garbage because people were partying in the whole city center, and there's like a lot of, I don't know, McDonald's bags, just normal after party stuff, but it gets cleaned up in the morning. Until 9-10 o'clock it's gone usually, and the city is ready for lunch, weekend walks. And also there's like a lot of flowers everywhere. I don't know who's in charge of that, but they spend really a lot of money on decorating the city with flowers. The flowers compositions are changing, if not every month, then every 2 months. I think 2 times in season they change all these flowers that are standing in these vases all around the Oslo center. So just amazing, beautiful in the seasons, especially when everything is blooming. Oh man, just pretty, aesthetically pleasing to look at. Next pro will be that is very multicultural city, is a very multicultural environment. It's easy in general to find new friends, to find networking circles. As for me, maybe it's my personal experience, but there is a lot of different groups of interests you can find in Oslo. I can say that I got really great friends out of living in Oslo for 8 years. There are different nationalities. There are not only international people or expats, there are also Norwegian people that live in Oslo center, more social, more open. I don't know, not so closed up in their like small bubble. So it's easier to get a contact, to get a hold of them, and they're more friendly usually. When you're living in a block in Oslo in general, it's much easier to get a contact with people than if you live in the suburbs, maybe in Oslo or outside of Oslo, because people are closed in their own like small environments. Nobody's going knocking the doors. My best friend that lived in one block with me, she's so communicative. She also moved from Russia very much later than me. She was living by that time 1 year in Oslo, and she had so many friends already because she just loved to communicate with people. I don't know, she goes to sauna. There's a great tip if you want to find some friends in Oslo, just go to sauna. There's people not sitting in their phones when they're inside the sauna. So you have a really great chance to talk to people, to meet them. A few practical pros that I also want to name will be that in Oslo Center you have night open shops, which you will not find in any other cities of Norway. There is possibility to eat until 3 a.m. and in general there is like food deliveries. So when it's bad weather or something, when you're just not feeling like getting out of the house, you can order food from restaurant home. It will be Foodora and Volt who delivers in Oslo. There is emergency in easy reach. So emergency room is in Oslo Center. There is 3 big hospitals inside of Oslo itself. Yeah, a lot of foreign stores, which I don't know, it's a big plus for me because now I'm living here in Spain, there's freaking nothing here. But in Oslo there's Asian stores, there is Arabic markets, there is stores with Italian authentic food. It's much more expensive than in Italy. Of course, the prices are triple, quadruple. If you want a good prosciutto from Italy, you know that you can get it, you know, what you're gonna do about it. And there's even East European shops, Eco Market, I don't know, maybe somebody from East Europe watching me as well. They have a really good selection of foods from your home country. Never I lacked something that I couldn't find basically in Oslo. Yeah, in the normal Norwegian shops, there's actually not that big variety of the food, I would say. Like, they have a lot of the same stuff. So you have salami, you have 5 different brands of salami. But basically, if you want some, I don't know, pålegg, it's called in Norway, something that you want to put on the bread, there's 3 types of things, basically. They're just 10 different brands.
We don't like to have a lot of choices. I mean, too much choices? What can we choose? That will make us very upset.
In general, plus for me, about Norwegian stores, that they're like built towards you making healthy choices. This starts with like vegetables and fruits, and if you want to find white bread, that's gonna be a quest, because like when you look at the bread stand, there's whole grain, super food bread in front of you, all the dark bread, and like you really need to look down to find some bimbo bread or whatever, the toast bread. They really make sure they put it down. If you want it, you really need to sort through it. And now I think we will go to cones, to the bad stuff I noted down thoroughly. I will start with something like controversial, because I actually wanted to add it in the pros, but in my taste, it's not very big of a pro. Oslo is a city that are bicycle friendly, right? So there's a lot of bicycle roads. In general, the center is more closed, so there's not so much opportunities to get there by car, but it's like hills everywhere. In Oslo center is hills, so if you want to bicycle around, you are in for a good workout. But in Oslo, yeah, it's bicycle roads and stuff, but it's not really bicycle friendly, I would say. It's not everywhere in the center you get the good bicycle roads. Sometimes the bicycle roads just merging into the tramways, and then you're falling. Not really everywhere they build it. They are still in the renovation, process of renovation, all of that, but they claim to be, like, they want to be zero CO2, whatever it is. So they're going towards it, but not quite there yet. So yeah, I don't know if it's a pro or con, you decide yourself. There is a lot of bicycle roads, there is a lot of hills. If you like to drive hills up and down, but if you want a bicycle, I will advise you electric bike, especially if you're driving like kids behind you. Crazy, so heavy. And the biggest, hugest con for me, as a person who was living in city center, it's just pissing me off so deeply, it's junkies. There's a lot of users, like heavy users in Oslo center. They're usually sitting in one place, which is a little bit outside of Oslo train station. You can get a map here and might mark this place. But so basically the whole area around this place is where these people are going. I guess it's such in your face because there's not so many people really. And like, you see it and they're not hiding. I guess in every country, in big cities, you have these areas where they, I don't know, flocking. But in Oslo center, come on, they could move them elsewhere. Don't like it very much. And when you choose the place to live in Oslo center, like, you need to be really careful. You really need to know the areas where you want to move, because one street is beautiful, 100 meters down, and you're in a completely different world with all these junkies around you or around your door. It's crazy, and police do not do nothing about it. And in the area where I live in Sankthanshaugen, which is, I live in like center, what you can imagine. It's Krisparken. Krisparken is like a little nice park, so next to Møllergata. Take a map here so you can see it. And so these junkies used to come to this park to chill before. Now they completely renovated the park as I was just moving out of Oslo to Spain for a year. And they really try to keep them out. There's more kids. For what I've seen when I was moving out, the place was clean basically. And the street where we live, we also as a community who live there made sure that this people doesn't come there, sit and chill on the street, because there's kids. And what I didn't like the most about it, that there was the needles laying in the grass sometimes everywhere. So it's not that safe if you have small kids to walk around these areas. So yeah, you need to be really careful where you live and where you walk, But if you just choose another area of Oslo center to live, you might really never meet them, except for if you go to like train station to take a train or whatever to Oslo City Shopping Center. But in general, you can live in Oslo center without seeing these people ever. The second con will be expensive road fees. If you have a car and you need to travel inside and outside of the Ring 3 in Oslo, you need to pay the toll fees. One of them will be like, I don't know, 30, 50 Norwegian kroners. So every time you travel, you need to pay for the road. And in a month, it will come as expensive line of your budget. Here we also can take that is not a car-friendly city center. Of course, as I said before, so it's not really for bicycles, not really for cars. It's quite a lot of parking houses for this city center, where there's like very little cars. But parking, of course, is expensive. That's another con. The parking is expensive. No matter if you park in a parking house or on the street, it will be a bit cheaper, and you always need to pay your parking. There is a free parking on the street in weekends. And in the night also, I would say it's for free after 8 o'clock. In many zones you can park for free, but in general you need to be careful when you visit as a tourist Oslo that you go to the parking machine and get your ticket, because they will be coming very fast. These people who gives the tickets coming very fast if you don't pay your parking, crazy. And it's 90 euros fee, $90 fee, I would say. So next con will be the Oslo city center is always under construction, especially last 5 years. They just have so much projects going on at the same time, and they finish with one street, they start another one next to it, and fixing pipes, like these constructions go so inefficient, so very slow. They're doing it super slow, like one piece of road, they're just repairing it for like a year, and it's crazy. So sidewalks are closed, you need to go around, you cannot drive, of course. They not show it on the map that it's closed, so you just end up being super pissed because half of the roads is closed, and if you live in a city center and they just start to dig in front of your house, then yeah, you just live with it for a year basically. I was super unlucky because I was living in one street, and I moved down the street down, I just changed the street, and they were like fixing my street up where I lived before. I'm finally going away, and as I moved, they finished that street and they moved to the street down there to fix the pipes, because it's old pipes, it's old city, and I think this like next years is just renovation years for them. They're renovating the tramways always somewhere. So it's like they always redo the routes for public transport as well. When you get used to one good line, they're canceling it and the bus is going around now. So you're not like get really confused in the times. One day you drive there and another day it's just going different direction with bus. So yeah, this is quite irritating because it's okay to renovate, but like the speed with what these renovations are going is just ridiculous. Like how long time it takes. Let it all out, you know. And the next con will be that monthly cards for transportation are expensive. So yeah, I said in pros, transport itself is great, yes, but a monthly card or one time if you just want to take a bus or something, it just costs a lot of money. You get a discount as a child and as a student, but in general, inside Oslo it's €85. Here we can also include that the taxi is very expensive. So if you need to take a taxi from one place to another in Oslo center, 10 minutes ride will be 30-50 euros, crazy. Yes, next con is, of course, obvious, expensive rent and expensive price of buying the property in Oslo. The place I was renting, 80 square meters, 22,500 Norwegian kroners, so it will be $2,000 euros per month, 80 square meters. And it was not like the best living standards, so it's no new kitchen or it's like an old building, old house, old block. Now the place that is alike cost 29,000 Norwegian kroners, so it was like $500 raise from last year. Excuse me? I don't know how people with kids can afford to live in Oslo center anymore, so that is a very big con that the prices are raising. And the next con will be that the quality of living and the standards of living that you get for these flats, especially in historical center, are not up to level with the prices. And there will be old windows usually. If you live in Oslo center, you need to prepare yourself that a lot of buildings there are historical buildings and it's not easy to change windows there. In winter it gets pretty shitty because you need to also spend a lot of money on electricity to warm up the places. Even if you buy a property, buy a flat in Oslo center, most of the buildings will be cooperative buildings. So you own the place, but you need to do everything in agreement with other owners. And it takes a lot of time to change windows, doors, whatever related to big renovations in your flat. Yes, this we say. And the next one will be also related to money, that all of the restaurants and eating out is expensive. Coffee places are expensive. Drinking coffee is expensive. So Oslo in general is a city of discount cards and discount programs. If you are moving to Oslo, or if you're already living there, if you're not utilizing all discount programs that Norway has to offer, Oslo has to offer, you lose a lot of money. Basically, you're living much more expensive than you could. So to minimize your spendings, you really need to have like these coffee cards, like they stamp it. You get every fifth coffee for free, some bakery for free. In general, all the grocery stores have their own discount programs. So it's very wise to subscribe on all of them. The next con will be that Oslo is not very family friendly, is in my opinion. It's coming from a person with 4 kids who lived in Oslo for 8 years. Yeah, it's not so family friendly while you are there. I just love the city. If you used to comfort life, first of all, starting with the prices for rent are crazy. So in general, you're living in a much smaller place with your kids than if you would move outside of Oslo center. That's first. Second, that is that if you're pregnant in Oslo center, you need to be prepared that they have a less capacity for like different treatments, and they have less things to offer to pregnant ladies. Especially if you're first time pregnant and you're quite anxious about pregnancy and you want to have dates, you want to go visit your midwife more often, a nurse and stuff like that. I know that for some woman who's the first time pregnant, it's not going to be enough. When I lived outside of Oslo in different municipality and I was pregnant with my second child, there was actually amazing services because I had appointment when I wanted. I could call my doctor. I had acupuncture. I had like physiotherapy, all for free, by the way. Like in Oslo, they won't give it to you for free. Physiotherapy, swimming pool for my back and stuff like that. So it was nice. It was in general nice. More attention, more love. But in Oslo, if you complain on your back or something, they can offer you the card of physiotherapist and say, yeah, call them and they will give you a discount or something. But yeah, there's nothing you can get for free when you live in Oslo center. So no swimming pool for sure. You can go privately, pay for the classes and go privately, but there's no free groups. So far I know, at least. I don't know. If you got some free services as a pregnant lady in Oslo, hit the comments. So not family friendly, it's not pregnant friendly, no, not enough playgrounds in my opinion. What happened with playgrounds? I love when it's like in every corner there's a little playground. The country where I'm from, there's playground in every corner of every area. But here, yeah, they have really nice playgrounds in Oslo center. They're like quite filled full, like natural, eco, wooden, like really nice stuff. But there are like a few of them, so you need to walk from, if you live in a place where there's no playgrounds around, you need to walk to big playgrounds. I would say the biggest, the nicest one, I wrote down here, will be one in Akerbrygge. There's like one big by the seaside. There is one next to the castle. There is one in Bjørvika, it's like a new area. The Haugen Park, there is a playground. Also Frogner Park, there is a big playground, but it's so crowded every time, like getting dizzy and nauseous every time I need to go there. There's a lot of things going on. And yeah, you don't really see your kid in between of all of them. It kind of give me anxiety. And there will be a nice playground next to Mathallen. It's the big food court in center. There's a few playgrounds. Gruniloka Park, there's a new big playground. Also Toyen area and Botanical Garden have a really nice playgrounds. So that's more or less very event. But there's no small, I don't know. Actually, when I name it now, there's quite a lot of playgrounds. But it's never enough, okay? Never enough. Next con will be as next 2 cons, and that's the last concept I would say, related to weather. Weather is, I never stop saying that weather in Oslo as a part of Norway, is even more. A lot of middle seasons with no real snow. You basically need to drive out of the city center to get some snow. So if you are someone who wants more snowy scenery, Oslo is not for you, I would say. The winter, it's like, because of the temperature changes, it gets very icy, and we should remember that Oslo, it's freaking hills everywhere, hills up and down. It's absolutely no correct system for getting rid of this ice. So snowing, melting, gets icy, they put stones on it, it's melting a little bit, again the stones get under the ice, it's impossible to walk again. They put more stones, and then you cannot climb these icy hills. So many people breaking their arms and legs every single year, and they cannot fix this problem for so many years.
Deja vu, I just been in this place before. Higher on the street, and I know it's my time to go.
Just get salt, right? I don't know, learn how to use the salt. Whatever, we're eco, we're using stones. And then they spend 1.5 months cleaning this stone. So when it's all finally melted, you have just shitloads of stones on the street that are just, these are ridiculous. They are in your shoes, they're everywhere, there's small gravel. So yeah, weather is bad, and for the place that are actually having these weather conditions every year, they could handle it a little bit better, in my opinion. That was more or less all for today, and let me know what you think. If I forgot something, put it in comments down below, and thank you for watching. Ciao!